I don't like Gary Vee, to
Right.
be honest. Yeah, I don't like the hustle culture. I don't like those phenomena. I may maybe create 50 good buildings and it may impact, let's say, 1,000 people. But as an educator, even if I create 5 good architects every year, the impact is at least 5 to 10 times. The motivation is very simple. I want to provide free education. And I think there is already enough education. It's just a matter of looking for the right resources. I hate when people discuss and argue that this generation is not good. It's not what we used to be.
How are you doing? It's awesome having you here.
Thank you. Same here. I'm blessed to be here actually. I've seen your 2 episodes so far and it's been really great. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Means a lot. Tell me about yourself a bit. Like 50 cities across 3 continents, meeting 10,000 plus people, and interestingly, mentoring 1,000 plus people. Like, how did it all get started?
Wow, you've done your research, I think. That's good. Thank you. So yeah, I'm an architect and creative journalist, and I started my journey as an architect. But when I was still learning architecture, I started going into photography. I loved photography, and that started my design journey. Right, it taught me composition rules and how to manipulate frames and so on and so forth. So even though technically I wasn't a photographer, I used to call myself picographer, and that's how I started going into graphic design, UI, UX, product design, etc., etc. Throughout that journey, then I started dipping my hands because I was a solopreneur. I started learning marketing and advertisement and no code tools because I wanted my own venture. So I started developing my own edtech solution as I wasn't happy with the current education system. I still am not. So I'm still doing something or the other to improve education for everybody. I think that is a very short story of mine. But how I started with my mentorship, I would say when I was in my thesis, that is the last semester, architecture has 5 years. I asked my mentor a very specific question that, what do you prefer more? Like, do you prefer educating or do you prefer practicing? And he gave me a very deep answer. I post this answer. I have talked to him about this, and he said, I didn't think about this a lot about the answer, but for me, it was very, enlightening. So what he said was, as a practitioner, I may maybe create 50 good buildings, and it may impact, let's say, 1,000 people throughout my lifetime. But as an educator, even if I create 5 good architects every year, the impact is at least 5 to 10 times what I would have when I was just practicing. Right. And that answer was that is very powerful, right? As a student, I didn't plan to go into education ever. But that answer told me that that is very true. And I had observed that myself in my education of bachelor's. We didn't have good educators. And the main reason is most of the good practitioners or good architects, they practice. They don't want to educate. And I think it goes for all the professions, be it design, engineering, or medical, or anywhere, right? People prefer educating as the last profession just because they want to earn some money, but not because they want to change the world. And yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I may create good fire architects, or
Yes.
I may also create bad fire architects, and my impact would be even still 5 times, but in a bad manner. So yes, I take it very seriously. That's why I have mentored many batches so far, formally as well as informally. I have been teaching a lot of people now and then. And as you are aware, I have started something new. Like I'm throwing out curated courses and assignments, and
Right.
I
We'll
would
get
say
into that.
challenges for free to everybody. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all from me.
Awesome. You've learned majority of like tools and tech yourself, right? Like self-taught.
Yes. I have self-taught myself, and that journey again
Wait,
started with thesis. Sorry.
do you think that's an efficient way more people should be doing things? Getting started at least.
Hmm. Right. Okay. I think that question can be answered in 2 ways, right? First of all, should there be efficiency in education? When I say that, what I mean is efficiency is a term which came post-industrial revolution, right? And it came because employees needed to be efficient as they were stamping number of hours they work. Second is, if yes, then what is the right manner? Is going to a 4 year course an efficient manner, or studying yourself an efficient manner? So from my personal experience and from what I have seen, what I can do, I have found this very efficient because I have the full control. in terms of time, in terms of curriculum, in terms of everything. And that is why it is very powerful. So as I was just going to say, it started with thesis when YouTube was very new. And it started because I wanted to present my work as best as possible. And our faculties didn't teach us Photoshop. Our faculties didn't teach us how to present well in juries. And those things were lost, right? And staying in where majority of the population is from around towns, it was very difficult to learn from your peers as well. That's where I think internet, especially YouTube, has been a very, very big part of my life. And another thing which helped me do this, not just about efficiency, but also regarding a simple notion I have is I want to learn one new thing every day. So whenever I talk to somebody or whenever I am looking at a video or anything, right? Very simple. I just want to learn one new thing every day. That's it. It's not a lot. And the smallest thing could be, what happens if from one point of Earth, like what's the exact point which is perpendicular on other side of the Earth? What is it called? So such simple facts sometimes may help you extrapolate the same information in different ways. So yeah, I think my answer is not efficient in itself. So you got your answer.
But yeah, like it's honest, and that's more important. Yeah, that's an awesome answer. Huh? And the democratization that YouTube has done is unparalleled, right? Like everyone can learn anything basically. Super awesome.
Definitely. And it's not even just about it's not even about democratization, right? I think YouTube represents a collective consciousness. So when you think about it, where even if you're stick to this screen, you're actually being connected to so many people's consciousness, so many people's thoughts. And that's just bonkers. It wasn't possible before YouTube or other things, right? It is only like possible in 21st century, I think. What are your thoughts regarding YouTube?
My thoughts regarding YouTube. Yeah. Okay, we'll get into that. I'll share my thoughts now. On YouTube, I think it has single-handedly helped me like find my path, if anything. Like I was super distraught at one point in time, didn't know what to do. I was just going through a lot of things, be it like e-commerce, be it print on demand, all those things, right? Copywriting, drop shipping and all that. And slowly I stuck to design. Chris Joe is a person. I mean, I don't think he would know me, but he's my mentor, so to say. And I've learned so much from him. I've probably watched thousands of videos. And yeah, that has given me something to latch onto and make a career out of. I think it's beautiful. That's the word.
No, I absolutely resonate with you, right? Especially with the Chris Joe thing. I think he opened a lot of designers to a world which we didn't know about. And just like you and I have dabbled into all of these things, right? And sometimes it feels very easy, and most of the time nothing is easy. But Christo, to be honest, he helped me sail through COVID. So in COVID, I used to binge watch his, and it's called para-social relationship. This technical word where you form a social relationship with somebody who is on the internet. Yeah. So I think we all have formed certain relationships with him, and he's a really genuine guy. And that's the best part about it. Whenever I see his video, I know that whatever he will speak is going to be genuine. I may like it or I may not like it, but that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I mean, Christo has taught us a lot of things. And I'm actually trying every day in one way or the other to get in touch with him, because either I want him on my podcast or I want to be on his podcast. So it's almost like going on a TED talk. It's one of those dreams where I just want to be with him, at least on a call, if not in the same room. So yeah, I don't like Gary Vee, to be honest. Yeah, I don't like the hustle culture. I don't like those phenomena.
I understand, yeah. I mean, yeah, I loved it at one point in time, to be honest. And yeah, the core tenets still remain to a level. But of course, now I don't follow him as that. I'll just skim through his content here and there maybe, but yeah, I don't resonate, so to say.
Gary Vee, right? I mean, see, that's the thing. It's not his philosophy about everything. It's just that he's way too aggressive when it comes to work-life balance. And that is one thing I strongly disagree. I feel we should have that balance, and no money is worth your health or mental health and relationships. That is my personal opinion. Right. And as you already know, I was on a vacation for 2 months with my wife to Dharamshala. So we want that life. So money is only as good as that. I mean, sure, just now I bought this new laptop. It costs money, of course. We need to earn money. But then that's it, right? It's more about the value which you're getting. And that's why I don't appreciate getting. Anyways, yeah,
Right.
we don't want to make this about Gary Vee. It can be an entire episode about Gary Vee. No, but I like the guy. In a way, I like the guy. He's honest. Oh, sure, sure, sure. So,
The paper
uh,
proposes a system, right, that emphasizes a balanced and symbiotic relationship between humans, their creations, and like nature. Correct? Like, tell us about it briefly.
nice. Yeah. That topic, it's been 5 years since I published this paper, okay? And when I was writing this paper, first of all, a quick tangential story as to how I came to be.
Sure.
So, there are two mentors of mine who are my colleagues who are teaching alongside me, and they're senior to me. And one fine day, we were sitting in a staff room, and this guy just told me, Akshay Anand, he told me that he has got an email from IREC publishers that there is this conference on future smart cities. He didn't have an interest for that, but he knew that I am always into tech and future smart stuff. So he told me, you can write the paper and you can publish it. You can do things. And that was the first time I even like thought about this thing, right? And the more I started thinking about it, you wouldn't believe at the time, like by the time I finished writing this paper, I started stammering. Okay, I started jumbling words because this paper, I genuinely went very deep. And what happened is my thought process became much faster than my ability to speak and articulate. And since then, I'm still struggling to keep that balance between what I think, what I hear from others, and how I speak. It's not a disability, but somewhere it is related to ADHD symptoms. But it's just that it is. Anyways, back to the paper itself. So yes, the paper proposes that there are three powers: humans, nature, and technology. And I propose that these three powers should live together symbiotically using their advantages. And that is the only way we will be surviving this crisis we are facing today, be it climate change, be it AI, or be it anything else. And I say that even because there are certain things. So I'm not a religious person. Uh, I am a spiritual person. But still, so let's say we take Hindu mythology, right? And no offense to anybody following Hinduism or anything like that, but I'm calling it mythology. If we take Hindu mythology, there are three gods: Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, right? Brahma is the creator. Shiv is, the destroyer, and Vishnu is the operator. So there has to be some reason that we need three powers to balance this universe. And I
Mhm.
have observed from my own life that when there are just two parties, it will never be a balance. It will always be a power play. That is why when we see just two political parties, it is never balanced. We need three parties at least, right? So this is how I compare. I compare nature with Brahma, which is a creator. I compare humans with Shiv, which is a destroyer, and I compare technology with Vishnu, which is the operator. Because technology is very unbiased if we really train it like that. Humans are very biased, but we have emotions, and nature has resources, and it is like nature, it is all omnipotent energy. So if we leverage all the powers from all the three forces, we can keep check on each other and no other power will become more powerful. So that's how
Mhm.
this notion started, right? And also, I'm a big anime lover. So there is this anime called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. In that, there is a notion which is explained very well, which is all is one is all. Again, here I explored that because I feel if you talk about the currency in today's time, it is very superficial, it is man made. But I feel energy is the only thing which is constant amongst everything. And if we keep energy, if we create energy and translate that into a currency, we can see true value in everything, right? So, and we may be able to eradicate capitalism and hence profit and loss. So, yeah, that is very
Mhm.
quick summary of the paper and its story. I was just saying that it's difficult because since that time, my mission has become this. I want to create a world which is democratically smart. And I envision a world where there are no boundaries. So I'm still lost till this date. I've started my few efforts now and then as to how I can aware people about this and how we can start something. I think we have discussed this earlier. Like I recently launched my podcast and things like that, where my first episode is creating a global language. So that is a part, that's an effort where which I have taken to actually have this thing to
Mhm.
start building this world. I mean, yeah.
So like to go like one level on this. I'm quoting this from the paper. The system equates the world as an organism where citizens are cells, neighborhoods are the tissues, cities are the organs, and countries are the organ systems. Give us like a glimpse into this.
Correct.
I'll have the paper in the description by the way, so you guys can check it.
Sure. Thank you. Uh, yes. So I compare the world as an organism because ultimately, if we see ourselves, our body represents the world. We have so many parts and so many layers in it. But then the last layer is the cells. If we don't consider atoms and nucleons and that technical stuff, right? We are built up of smallest parts, which are cells. Now, there are two scales, macro and micro. We can always change the world when we are at the highest political levels, if we are world leaders, right? That is from the world level to the citizen level. But the micro to micro is also equally important. If as a citizen, I don't do things which will hence in turn change the world, it is futile. So that is why I laid down this, hierarchy where each citizen is important, and the system is something like this: that 1,000 citizens, 1,000 cells come up together to form a neighborhood. Then I think there are 1,000 neighborhoods to form one city, and I think 20 or 100 cities forming one country, and then 7 or something like that countries to form one world. It was all mathematical exercise at that point. But my idea was that should still be, I never wanted to create a monoculture by this exercise. I'm not saying let's create monoculture. Diversity and inclusivity is still very, very important. But through this exercise, what I wanted is every citizen should have a voting power. And through their votes, the laws, the funding, where you live, how you live, what projects should be executed in your place, in your neighborhood, everything is controlled by you, right? And there is a system through technology. Now, here's where technology comes into picture, where I keep on voting, or I may create a new rule, right? As a citizen, I have that power today. I will create a new rule, throw it out on this piece of technology, and then there will be voting at the citizen level, at the neighborhood level, city level, country level, and the world level. And there are time periods because not every law is going to be that important, because world cannot have every rule come up every new week. That will be chaotic. So there are certain time frames. Of course, I don't remember those time frames, but it is accordingly like that. That for neighborhoods, it should be weekly or monthly because it needs to be quickly executed. For city level, it is monthly. For country level, it is yearly. And world level, I think it's 5 years or something. But then that is where technology comes into picture, which is acting almost like YouTube. Like it's a collective consciousness, which is getting all of the resources together. It has big data and it is analyzing all the time. And it is predicting as well as generating newer resources. And because the currency is energy, let's say there is an apple, the technology will track the entire life cycle. So sustainability concept revolves around this, right? Life cycle of a product. So apple, from the point it's a seed, how much energy it's called embodied energy, how much energy has gone into creating that apple and that apple reaching the end consumer. Everything matters. So the true value of an apple cannot be just $1. That's just hypothetical. And that's just made up number based on demand and supply. As per me, it's not right. But if we consider this true value, and then we sell it at that point, there won't be a profit and loss because we don't need to profit. And again, this is my notion, right? If, let's say, I am earning 1 crore per month. When I'm saying these numbers, I'm talking about INR. If I'm earning 1 crore Indian rupees per month, I'm earning 12 crore rupees per year. Now, the economy is limited. The currency is limited within this economy. If I am having that much profit, then I'm damn sure there are thousands of families who are starving. And people don't want to realize this, but it is true. Okay. The reason why the range or the difference between the rich people and the poor people has increased over a period of time is because people who have started earning money, they want to earn more and not realizing that the actual total money available to all of us is limited and it's only going to circulate. So if we want to eradicate poverty, we have to remove profit and loss, and we only need to earn the amount of money which we want to live life properly. So yeah, I mean, when I was writing the paper, I didn't know the concept of universal basic income, but I have explored that as well in the paper, where I'm saying there will be certain amount given by default to every citizen. And that is, I think, what universal basic income is. And every house will have its own server and own cloud. So again, I didn't know about blockchain at that point, but this is similar to blockchain where all the data of the world is decentralized, because there are going to be fear that what if technology, like becomes sentient, then the distribution of information should not be at one place. It should be with everybody. So the kill switch ideally is with everybody. It's not like in movies shown that I go to some place and there is a button server and I just press that button, everything is done. It should not come to that, right? It should be that if I today doesn't want this technology to be there, I can start, like I can press that button, and if more and more people presses that button, well, okay, the decision has been taken. So it's truly democratic, and because the technology is integrated smartly, it's truly smart. Yeah.
Super, man. Super interesting. And so I was thinking about it, like to understand the transition from the current pseudo-democracies to the true democracy you describe in the paper. What do you think is one takeaway for people to understand right now?
Right. So when I say pseudo-democracy in the paper, what I mean is it's a representative democracy. You truly don't have the vote. You truly don't have the say. Given the current situation, how we can start transitioning towards this ideal world is making sure that even when it's a representative democracy, we take seriously our votes, even when we are choosing our, I would say, representatives, right? Our leaders. No matter whom you're voting, that's a very personal, subjective decision. But that vote does matter. And it is sad for me when I'm saying this, because this election I couldn't vote because I was in a different state, right? And I think that's where technology should be more and more integrated, even when we talk about voting systems, so that this type of things doesn't happen. I'm a citizen of India. I still couldn't vote because I was in a different state within India, and that's tragic, right? And I'm sure a lot of people couldn't vote, and a lot of people didn't vote this time. Every time that those numbers are always transparent, publicly displayed. But then that is one thing I believe we don't take seriously. We always think, how will it matter? It's just one. One vote does matter. And I'm not saying it as, from a political stand of view. I'm saying in a way that your lives are going to be ruled by these people for the next 5 years, right? Or whatever the term period is. And that's how, not just in India, everywhere else, wherever there is democracy, voting is important. And again, to start transitioning, start thinking about how within your schemes, apartments, neighborhoods, you can have a similar democratic approach. We do have, I think, society members who are taking charge most of the time, but nobody else pays attention to these things, right? Because again, we have to take out time for that. But ultimately, they are taking important decisions without asking you, because you don't care. So voting should be involved in all of the things, and that's why open sourcing all the processes, making it transparent, that's the only way to go, I feel. And again, that is why I feel I have started this thing that, how we can create a global language which is open source. So I've started designing this language, and then I'll be pushing it out on GitHub for everybody to participate, because a language is very important. How we communicate is very important. Right now, we are highly dependent on English, which is not native language to majority of the population. Then why is it global? It's just bureaucratically decided. We didn't have a say in it. So just like rules and regulations, language is one of the most important thing we as humans have, which even though ChatGPT exists or any LLM exists, they still don't have language. We have language. We have imagination. They are never going to have that. That is the only thing we will have, which AI, even if it will become AGI or ASI, that is artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence, they will never have imagination. They can be creative, but they won't have imagination, right? And if we don't cater to that, if our education systems, if we don't learn how to imagine, and if we don't start speaking what we want, then yeah, it's all futile. Then we're going into the dystopian world all the movies have shown us.
Right. There's so much to talk about. Like, we'll need many episodes with you.
Yeah.
Super fun.
I agree.
Yeah. So, okay. I quote this from the paper.
No, but I would love your opinion on this, right?
Batai?
Like, what do you think about this? Like, after reading this paper, what was your first thought?
The first thought was that it's interesting and it's futuristic in a way, but it feels like it's an evolution that is possible. I don't know how possible or feasible, but it's something that felt like, it's doable maybe. It felt more real, so to say. Right? A lot of things
Right.
were understandable, a lot of things made sense, and a lot of things felt inevitable in a way. Right? And so I think this is
Correct.
coming along those lines. Like, so this is what I'm quoting from the paper. I would say this with confidence that the concept of democratically smart world is not just a mere mirage, but a distant, promising, and the only utopia we have. Along these lines, let's come to the utopia of our country, India. What do you think is the pulse of this
Yeah.
generation from your perspective? Where are they headed? Career-wise, we can say, or like technology-wise, from a personal standpoint, what do you think we are heading?
Wow, you quoted a very nice line. Yes, this is the only option we have left. That's the only utopia we can hope
Like,
for. And the question which you raised is an interesting one. I feel the current generation, that is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and other generations which will come later on, they are tremendously powerful and creative. First of all, I want to say this, okay? I hate when people discuss and argue that this generation is not good. It's not what we used to be. It's not. They don't learn as quickly as we do. That is hogwash. Okay, because you're going to publish this on YouTube, I'm not using certain words. It's just, it's just that's not right. They are really, really interesting generation because they are digital native and technology native. They
mm,
are able to learn things at a pace which we cannot even imagine. I'm sure most of us know, and most of us have that small cousin who is 3 years old and already know how to operate a phone, and that's bonkers, right? When we were kids, we used to, we just learned how to remove boogers from our nose, nothing more, correct? So that is one thing I really want people to understand, that comparing various generations over different periods of time, eras of time, is really, really nonsense. It's just a way to feel ourselves better. So let's keep that aside now, having that context. In terms of India, I see if the current youth leverages AI and the future tech, including VR and AR, we again can take a charge, just like when we took a charge when it was about IT corridor. We still have a great hope and we can create newer jobs around this industry. Yes, there are obviously tons of other industries which needs to be paid attention to. I read a very recent, like interesting article recently where people were saying, and it was very true, like that because of AI hype, a lot of research, time, and development, and even students' interests are going just into one field. That is also not right. We need diversity, otherwise we can't survive. So, but even then, as a country, if we take a similar path to Singapore, where Singapore right now is currently ranked number one when it comes to technology related policies and things like that, we, because of our youth population, have a big advantage over Western countries, to be very honest. Because for us, earning 75,000 rupees a month or 1 lakh rupees a month, that is, I would say, $1,000 per month, is more than sufficient. Whereas that's not right for the Western society. So I think more of us should start upskilling ourselves with the freely available resources and start thinking about how we can leverage technology in our industries. So if I'm a doctor, a general physician, how can I leverage this technology? COVID taught that very well. COVID helped and pushed doctors to use telemedicine, but that stopped because doctors are not comfortable with this notion. Sure, there are pros and cons for everything that can be discussed later on, but there is hope. Similarly, if we are designers, if we are architects, leveraging this technology, we can increase our efficiency. Now I can talk about efficiency, right? Because we're talking about profession. Let's say architecture. We require to build, if we have to cater the current population and the projected population, we need to build 100 or 1,000 buildings per day. That's the current. But today, an average architect is only able to design and build a normal residence, that is a bungalow, let's say, within a span of 6 months, and an apartment scheme in a span of 1 year. That's really slow. And sadly, the majority of the time not doesn't go into construction, it goes into creating drawings and producing drawings, which is really, weird because it's important, but living in a good environment is much more important. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is technology is going to play a big role. And if our youth will not leverage this, they are going to be left behind. So it is time for us, and I see it like this. If you have a phone and if you have internet, you are way ahead than a lot of people. Use that privilege. I call it a privilege because it is a privilege. Use that privilege and upskill yourself. You do not have an excuse to say, if you can watch a reel, if you can Instagram, you don't have an excuse to say, oh, I don't have the resources. You do have it. You have the time, you have the resources. You don't want to do it, that's your choice. Then don't go on blaming other agencies or schooling systems or governments. No, it's your fault. Right? Again, like I love taking myself back to my thesis because nobody pushed me to perform well in my thesis. Nobody pushed me to use YouTube at that point. I did that because I knew, and again, there's a small story to that, but I knew that I had to do something so that I can sustain myself on a long period of time, and I'm a knowledgeable person. So one fine day I asked my friends when we were cutting models, right? In architecture, we have models, that what will we do once we graduate, right? I had no idea as an architect, how will I get projects or what I will do. And I was really scared. And I thank my friends, they're roommates and still my friends. I thank them because they answered me that come work for us. Okay. That answer changed me because I didn't want to work for anybody, especially my friends. And that pushed me to learn more. So having a good friend is not about buttering yourself and, saying, oh yeah, you're doing good. Kudos. No, it's more about that criticism at the right time when you need that faith in yourself. So please use the current technologies and the technologies to come. Ethical considerations and ethical debates will be held and can be done over and over, but that's not going to change the way corporates work, the way capitalism work. At least in this transition time, till we become a truly democratically smart world, we do need to survive. And if we want to, then capitalism does exist. And in that case, companies are going to replace you with better tools. That's a harsh reality. So I have this saying, right? Like startups were supposed to be lean. Now the startups will become linear. So they'll just have 7 positions in the company. That's it. I'll just have a marketing guy who does everything vertically. I'll just have a sales guy who does everything vertically. I don't need interns. I don't need freshers. I only need experts who are expert in that industry and who are expert in the tools. And that's it. I can run an entire industry, an entire company. So if you are not that person, well, sorry. You don't have a chance. And as harsh as it may seem, it is the fact right now. And it's not just in the papers. Right. I've seen it firsthand. People get laid off in certain companies. And that is tragic at a human level. But then that is what it is. I hope I answered your question in one way or the other. Even like after going somewhere.
So you've taught so many students, so you'll have a better grasp on this, which are technologies that young folks just can't afford to ignore and should dive into right now. And when I say this, I don't mean the emerging technologies. Those are there. But even for a huge mass, for a huge chunk of our population, technologies that might feel normal to us might not be normal to them. I'm talking about getting everyone to speed. If there's some technologies that everyone should be learning or should have a grasp on, which are those according to you?
Correct. Apart from the emerging technologies, one type of technology we should and we must start using is no/low code tools. And second is automation tools. Okay. No code tools allow designers or anybody who understands algorithmic logics to create something from nothing, right? And using a similar understanding, understanding how automations and APIs and things like that work would really help anybody, because then they can leverage the existing tools such as Zapier and Make to create their own business automations and automate their workflows to become more efficient. So even if we are not talking about AI or metaverse or, again, as you said, emerging technologies, these technologies have been maturing since the last 5 to 7 years, such as Wix, Webflow, if you talk about website building, or I guess what I said, Make and Zapier for anything else. So a person needs to start refining their pattern making and algorithmic logic building whenever they can and in any field. They need to start putting everything into if else then this or if this then that statement. Because if you are able to put any problem, okay, first of all is being able to find a problem. That is lacking in people. A person needs to find the right problem, and then to find a solution, they need to be able to define their problem in this statement. Because if they're able to define the solution in the statement, they can use these tools very easily. And I have personally used these tools, and it gives you a tremendous power and a boost in your career, because then you're ahead than 99% of the people. Yeah, I would say these tools are going to be very important. What do you think?
Awesome. I think these are fundamentals, yeah. Because coding can feel like a barrier to a lot of people, and no code or even low code is just omits that to a level that it feels empowering. Right? Same with automation.
Correct.
Like you don't feel that you are alone. You can do so many things at the same time. And yeah, these two are like fundamental. Makes sense. Finally, let's talk about the plethora of value that you share with those free courses, the curated ones, right? What's the motivation with this, by the way? Link in the comments, guys. Please check them out. They're awesome.
The motivation is very simple. I want to provide free education. And I think there is already enough education. It's just a matter of looking for the right resources. And this has come from a practical point of view. So I have had senior faculties ask me this very question as to how to know where to find the right resources on this internet, right? And how do we understand it's a trustable resource or not? Because we had a big discussion regarding a YouTube channel called Kurzgesagt. So Kurzgesagt is an animation channel.
Oh yeah. I've heard of it. Yeah, space tech something.
Correct. They teach scientific knowledge and other things, right? And we were discussing why can't I cite this when I'm scientifically publishing a paper, and that's where the discussion started, right? Because just because it's on YouTube, why do you think it's not trustworthy? Today, the facts suggest that majority of the published research is again it's bad. It's just done for its sake. So that led me to a realization that even though there is abundance of information, if you don't curate that information, it's waste, right? And I have always believed in free and accessible education. So yeah, that's how I started with this. It is still, I would say, nascent in its stage. I'm still figuring it out, lots of cogs. But here is the vision I have. And I was like thinking about this even yesterday, like just while I was driving. Like, where's the end goal? So while I want to provide free curated education to everybody, what I wish to achieve is a platform where they learn through interactive education as well. Right now, when you go to YouTube, it's a passive education and it is not personalized. So let's say, at a very, like the education, what I am giving right now is not something it's catered to you. What I want to achieve is using the same resource and add something more from my side. How can I have adaptive learning pathways for each of this through maybe gamifying the experience through different activities? And I'm also thinking if I can take this and translate this into metaverse, because everybody plays PUBG. So their phones are capable of looking at 3D worlds, right? So if you're able to play PUBG or COD in your game, you can go to the metaverse and teach yourself and upskill yourselves. So it's just a matter of when I will do this and how I will do this. But in one way or the other, that's the end goal. But right now, it's just all, I'm just giving. I'm getting feedback, learning from it. And yeah, and even when I'll be launching the final product, it won't be free, it will be, I would say, 100 rupees per month. So it will be much cheaper than Netflix or going to a movie. That is my objective, right? So I think if you can afford to go to a movie of 3 hours, when you spend 500 rupees or 700 rupees if you include popcorn, then I think you will be able to afford a good learning platform. Which again, it's not Skillshare. Skillshare is also a passive platform. Udemy is also a passive platform. When I say passive, you can just play it and you can do something else and it doesn't matter. When I mean active education, what I mean is you'll be prompted in between, you'll be asked certain things to do, you may do certain things so that you will retain that knowledge and then you will go further ahead. I love the comparison with Pokemon simulators, right? Where you go from one institute, gather badges, go to the next, gather badges. So I'm having a similar notion as to how you can upgrade yourself and still be fun. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's
Yeah, we're super
that's
proud
the
of you.
path I'm looking forward to.
Mhm.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah, I mean
Awesome.
that's the. I mean I don't know when, but I'm trying my best as fast as I can.
Great having you, man. Awesome conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Same here. I loved being here, and it was great talking to you as well. And thank you for
Have a good
having
day.
me. Same to you. Bye bye.